So unfortunately, the video had no audio on it, and I ran into one issue. I can't actually run this code, but I do have a screenshot that I will show in a minute. I'm just going to run through the UML. It's a library, the one-to-many, because there's many library items on one library. So the library will have a name, and the library item is type library. We have the name, length. This is the parent class. These are two child classes. So these can use the functions within the library item class. We then have the author, which the book can have type or author as like you can use the type author within it. So we can say if I have a book and then I want to set some more details about the book, I have the author class to talk about the author. Within the author, then we also have group authors and solo published. So a group of authors for maybe an academic book, you have many people that contribute to the book, and solo published for maybe a novel. Of course, we have the Boolean, which tells us if it is solo author or not, or not. Um, Here's the main. So we have solo publish. I just started making. So we have book here. Um, it's just called Emer. And then solo published. So Lorcan is the would be that. We have the net worth, number of books, the writer fee, and then we set it to true, the Boolean function to true. We then created the book. We set the author to S1, true. It would be here. So we have a type author and we call the author as like an int x. It's same thing. It's author, author. Or you could say AUT. And then in the book CPP, we'd have it here, and then as well, again, we have it here. It gets the author and returns it, and then it sets it here. So then within the book, we increase the number of books. We have the integer, the static integer in the book header, the static int number of books, and we also have the various comparative operators. I use the two. I use the friend and one outside. And for comparing two books together, how you can if we it's all done through the length of the book, and the name is here as well. So if they're equal to, obviously the name and the length has to be the same. But if we're just comparing two, you'd only compare it through maybe the length. Um, we also have to tell it like we have to overload the operator because we have like number of books, which is in author, yeah, number of books. So we have to overload it so the book class can see the number of books. And then when we overload it, then the display functionality can work as well. So that's them two. We can set the length and then we just set display. So if I show, I think it's here, if I make this full screen, we can see is self-published. I didn't have that set here, but we can see worth is calculating wages. It calls the function from the calc wages, which I think calc worth it would be the CPP. Sorry, yeah. So that'd be like for a group of authors, we could do it through this way. Or in the solo published, this is the get net worth minus the writer fee. So you'd set the writer fee, as you can see, in this one, we set it as 20,000, and then the writer fee is 10,000. So there's the 10,000 there. We then obviously create a book called B1 Emer, set the author as S1, so this author is within this book. So if we want more details, we then said the length and then display. So we can see book Emer has 500 pages and is a romance from the genre and the length. We then have so we create another group of authors called a penguin, just as a publisher. The net worth and then the number of authors, and it's So Penguin has 3 authors and that. So then if I can show further down, I'm not sure if I have it. So yeah, the sort functions here. We have set in the library item, so I'll just show that very quickly. So in the library, we have the Boolean operators, of course, to compare to library items. So we'd add a book. We can see we have library L1 Lorcan's library, and we set the number of maximum books to 6. So that would be correspond to this here and the Lorcan here. So the maximum of items that this library can hold. Because the library is a vector, we have to have the functionality to add to the vector. If I can find the library header, we can see the vector library items, and we call the items, and then the maximum of items. So we can order by length, which sorts the books within the library by the number of pages, or the CDs by the length. So if it's 500, if we added a book that was 500 pages first, then it's 400. The normal display would just display the 500 first, then the 400. But because if we say order by length, or sort by length, it would set it as the 400, then the 500. And similarly, by name would sort it alphabetically. We also have, for the display within a vector, if we say display, it can't display all the items together. It has to go through a process to display each item and each of the books in it, or each of the books in it. So it goes through. If I can show that. So we have the library item, 2 library items in the library are Emer's book and then E. Of course, about the same length. If we look at these 2 library items here, there's 2 in it, 450 and then 500. But if we were, say, to sort these by name, you can see, the sort by name right here, we can see that because E is before Emer, because it's E then I, it's E first then Emer. Probably not the best example to use. And then by length would be 400 first, then 500. And I'm trying to think. We also have the group of authors, number of authors, the setters and getters for that in here, and the functionality for the calculating the net worth. The published, the that. I'm trying to think, is there anything else? We have virtual. Of course, we can also compare 2 library items using these functionalities here. We can sort them, and you can see the functionality here. And then the display functions, obviously we have to use overloaded for that. Overload the operator. So a few minutes, perfect. So I think I couldn't get it to work because of the fatal error, and I've been trying for a minute, but I just can't. But if we were to if I can go off of the here, I can't really do it too well. Of course, by name, and yeah, the length, so library, so obviously it's an algorithm. For a vector, you have to use the algorithm. This is for the vector. We have to if it's below the set number of items that we set when we create the library, it will add the books, and it will push back to the back of the to the end of the list almost. And for display, we have this integer for the for loop. The author, we use this name to differentiate between the various names that are in the file. Yeah, I think that's, and there's the UML again. Yeah, thanks very much.